In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to successfully study and pass the TEAS exam. Stay tuned. What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are already part of the family, thank you so much for joining me here again. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Kiara. I'm a practical nurse, and on my channel, I basically talk everything nursing education, nursing exam preparations. Everything that you need to succeed on your nursing journey is right here on Nursing with Ki. So if you're thinking about nursing or about to start your nursing journey, please make sure you join the fam and put yourself on the right path by subscribing, by hitting on that subscribe button and turning on your notification bell to be notified whenever I post future content. So as mentioned in the beginning of the video, today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to prepare for the TEAS exam. For those of you who don't know what the TEAS exam is, it's basically an exam that most nursing schools will require for you to pass before you can get into the nursing program. And it basically tests you on four main things. Is it four? It tests you on reading, it tests you on science, on English, and on math, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. I just want to start off by saying that I live in Canada, so our entrance exam is not called the TEAS. We actually have a different name for entry exams depending on the province that you're from. But looking back on, the entrance exam that I took and looking into the TEAS exam, I realized that the entrance exam is pretty much the same thing. It just has a different name. So I don't really know how long you guys have to answer each section. I will find that information and I will link it down below. But basically the entrance exam is the same. So I feel like I'm qualified to talk to you guys. Before I get into the tips, I kind of want to go a little more in depth about exactly what you have to kind of practice when it comes to each section. Like I told you guys in the beginning, there are several sections that they are gonna evaluate, but there's like specifics to each one. So I'm just gonna kind of quickly run over that before we get into the actual tips. So make sure you stay till the very end. One thing that a lot of people stress about when it comes to nursing is the math aspect. I get a lot of questions from people who are thinking about going into nursing, but who are intimidated because of the math. And honestly, the math that you need to know for nursing isn't like really like advanced math or anything like that, at least for the LPN, and I think the ADN as well. It's like kind of the same type of math that you need to know. I don't really know about the BSN. But when it comes to the math part of the TEAS test or your nursing entry exam test, honestly, I don't really think you should stress too much. I don't really think that like the math is too hard. I would say focus on your decimals. I got a lot of questions with decimals, adding numbers with decimals, subtracting numbers with decimals, dividing numbers with decimals, things like that. So that wasn't too bad. Also fractions. I had so many questions, so many fraction questions. So get comfortable with your fractions, multiplying them, subtracting them, adding them, things like that. You're going to have a lot of equations to solve, a lot of just like regular problem solving type of questions, and also proportions and things like that. So for the math, like you do have to somewhat be comfortable with your math, but it's not like university level calculus or anything like that. Like you're not studying to be a mathematician here. It's just nursing. So don't get too intimidated. Focus on those main things. So when it comes to the science aspect of things, I would say to definitely get comfortable with A and P. Know a little bit about DNA, at least for me. DNA, cells and atoms, things like that. One thing that I see a lot, I would say know your systems. Definitely know your systems, especially the circulatory system. I mean, personally, in my experience, most of the questions were about the circulatory system. And when I was doing my research on the TEAS test, I see a lot of people talking about the circulatory system too in the States, which I find kind of intriguing. So understand the circulatory system, the difference between veins and arteries, understand where and when your blood becomes oxygenated, where and when it's deoxygenated, things like that. And, just like little simple things like that, like the purpose of each system of the body. if you know that, you should be fine for when it comes to this science. When it comes to reading is probably the easiest part, honestly, for me personally. You see a lot of questions where they will kind of give you a paragraph and they will ask you a couple questions about the paragraph to really see if you understand what it is that you're reading. And personally, for me, I will give you guys a really good tip for that a little late. Actually, I'll just give you the tip now. Personally, my trick for the reading is to read your questions before you read your paragraph. Because if you know what the questions are, then while you're reading, you will find your answer and then you can just highlight it right there and then. As opposed to reading and then having to go and look and see what your questions are and then having to go back and read again to find the answer. If you kind of have an idea what the questions are right before you start reading your paragraph, then when you're reading your paragraph, you can find your answer and just highlight it right away. So yeah, that's that for reading. When it comes to your English, just know your simple things, your adverbs, your verbs, your prefixes, your suffixes, your pronouns, your nouns, things like that. Know your punctuation, and things like that. And I think we also had a couple of questions where they gave us a sentence and there was a highlighted word and you basically had to write down what the word meant based on like the context of the sentence. I can't remember if we actually had to write it down or if they gave us options and we had to tick the right one, but you will have some questions like that. So I will leave some links down below where you can really go and get like detailed information about every single thing that you should know for your entrance exam. I'm just saying this based off of my head and based off of, you know, my personal experience, but I did my entrance exam 3 years ago, so it's been a while. I don't really remember too much. I know the mains, but I don't really remember every single detail. So if you really want detailed information about every single thing you should know, I will leave all that information down below so that you guys can go click on the links and get the information. Now let us get into the tips. So these are the tips that I have to share for you guys if you guys really want to pass your TEAS test. And the first tip that I have for you guys is to really start studying as soon as possible. The sooner the better. Don't wait until you're, you know, a week or 2 weeks before your exam to start studying. Like, do not start studying at the last minute. I guarantee you that if you do that, you are setting yourself up for failure. I know that a lot of people say that they are crammers, you know, and that it's better for them to study at the very last minute. But honestly, I don't think that's a good idea. If you start studying in advance, you can get a good idea of what it is that you need to study, and you can get a better feel of what your weak points and your strong points are. So definitely start studying in advance. Do not wait till the very last minute. At least give yourself a month or 2 months minimum. If you could do longer than that, do longer than that, but don't do less than a month. Do not start studying, you know, only like 3 weeks before you started studying and you start to kind of understand what your strong and your weak points are, then you can get a tutor. Now, it doesn't have to be like a permanent tutor or whatever, but honestly, I personally think that it is definitely worth it. There are a lot of nurses out there who tutor and who prepare people for the TEAS test and as well as the NCLEX. If you guys are studying for the NCLEX, no, you guys are probably not studying for the NCLEX. But if you want to know how to pass the NCLEX, I will leave a video for that down below. But definitely get a tutor because then you can start working on your strong points, or sorry, on your weak points with your tutor. Your tutor can give you some tips, some tricks, and can really just help you strengthen those weak points, right? So the only way for you to really do that in an effective way is if you start studying in advance. You start studying in advance, you can identify your weak points, and then you can give yourself some time to get the help that you need in order to increase your chances of passing the TEAS test. So get yourself a tutor. I think it's worth it. A tutor is like $20, maybe $30 an hour. You don't have to use the tutor every single day, maybe once or twice a week. But remember, you're only doing this for a month or 2 months, right? So if you can do one session every single week, personally, I think it's a good investment. At the end of the day, this is the test that's going to determine whether or not you get into nursing school. So I would definitely invest the money into myself just to ensure that I get into nursing school. You don't have to, it's optional, but it's definitely something that you should consider. My next tip is to come on YouTube and watch as many videos as you can. There are so many nursing channels on here, and there are so many nurses out here who have a lot of really valuable tips that they can share with you. And honestly, this is a time for you to take every single piece of advice you could possibly get. So come on here, do research, get as much advice as you could possibly get from the people who have actually done and passed the TEAS, nurses, right? We're nurses. We've been through it. We know what it is. We know what we're talking about. So come on here and really get as much advice as you could get. And this brings me to my next. So another tip, and this is for those of you who maybe can't afford to get a tutor or anything like that, or who don't want to get a tutor, you can reach out to nurse YouTubers, right? We've been through it. We've done it, like I said before. And maybe you can't afford to get a tutor, but like I said, you can come on YouTube. You can get advice from them on here. And if there's any additional questions that you want to ask, like I said, this is the time for you to collect data. This is the time for you to ask questions. This is the time for you to strengthen your weak points. So if you have any additional questions that you want to ask, or if anything is unclear to you, reach out to some nurse YouTubers and ask them some questions. I would say 60% of the time we would answer you guys. We would try to help you guys. We've been through it. We know how hard it is. We know what it is. So, I mean, if you know the other nurse YouTubers you're watching are nice, they're most likely going to answer you back. They're most likely going to lend you a helping hand and try to do everything that they can to, you know, make things as clear as possible to you. I'm not saying that they're going to sit down and tutor you or anything like that, but like I said, they've been through it. They know what it is, and they probably have some tips that they can offer you that would make your study process a little easier. So reach out to some nurses, reach out to some people who have actually done the teas, and ask them some questions, and I'm sure they'll continuously do online practice exams. There are a bunch of teas, of ATI teas, practice exams here online that you can do. And even if you do it once, let's say you do it a couple times and you kind of know what the answer is, continue practicing the formulas, especially for the math. Even if you already know what the answer is, just keep doing it just to remember the formula. A lot of the times when it comes to math, it's just understanding a formula. And once you understand a formula, everything becomes easier. So continue practicing, continue writing just to really like drill that formula into your head. Do it every day. Do it as much as you can. I'm also going to link some books down below that you guys can go get, that some books that, you know, I got recommended by other nurses. I'm going to leave those down in the description box so that you guys can go and look into those books. But you guys have endless options for the teas, like ATI teas books. There are so many out there that you can get on Amazon, that you can get in stores, that you can get. And my last tip is to do study groups. So if you know anybody who is also going to do the TEAS exam or anything like that, do study groups with them, right? Because your weak points might be their strong points and vice versa. So then you guys can help each other. You guys can study together. And I would say to at least give yourself 1 or 2 hours a day to study minimum. If you do that every single day, you should be fine, and at least do 1 study group a week if you can. And you should be fine and you should be set. But like I said, do not wait till the last minute. That is probably like the most important tip. Do not wait till the last minute to start studying. Start ASAP. The sooner you start, the sooner you can identify your weak points, the sooner you can, you know, get answers. I mean, the sooner you can get answers, you can do more research. Like, you just give yourself a lot more time to get things done. So don't wait till the very last minute. Once again, this is what's going to determine whether or not you get into the career field that you want to get into. So this is not something to take for granted. This is not something to loaf on. This is not something to wait, you know, till the last minute for. Like, do you want to be a nurse or not? If you want to be a nurse, you're just going to have to make the sacrifice and do what you got to do to ensure that you pass that test. So, guys, don't loaf. That's pretty much it. Do not. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please like and share. I'm sure there's somebody out there who can benefit from this information as well. So please share, share, share. If you are not yet part of my family, and like I said, if you are getting into your nursing journey or you recently started your nursing journey, I'm telling you, everything you need to succeed in nursing school is right here on Nursing with Key. I communicate with my community section every single week, and I'm very easy to reach on social media. If ever you guys have questions for me, the links to my social media will be down below. So make sure you follow me on Instagram or on Snapchat, preferably Instagram. I go on Instagram a lot more. I'm easier to reach on there. And if you have not yet joined my family and you are still here, please do so. Hit on that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. And I really hope to see you guys in my next one. Best of luck on your exam. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.